I gotta take off the overlay. Ah!
Hello and welcome to Creator Toolbox. This is the show that brings you the tools you need as a ServiceNow developer admin so you can do your jobs more effectively. We are here to showcase key platform capabilities and products, and we are currently in the Xanadu release content calendar. Today, we are going to be talking with a very smart subject matter expert all the way from across the Pacific. And they're could be across the street from me. First, some quick introductions. My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow, and I am retiring next Friday, which sounds really weird to say. I was honestly, I was starting to get misty listening to the music and watching that little cartoon robot going, "Oh, the memories!"
Yeah.
It was starting to hit me. Earl,
Yeah,
what's your story?
People don't realize this, but every time we have a show like this, if you don't get to see it because you're not in the studio like we are, but you can see Chuck every episode dancing in his camera to any of these show intros, but you all don't get to see that on the fly. Anyways, hi everyone. My name is Earl Duque. I am a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I've been with the company for like 3 years, but before that, I was doing ServiceNow development for a bunch of customers, mostly in higher ed. And Chuck mentioned that he's retiring next week, but that also means that we thought 2 weeks ago was his last Creator Toolbox, but this is technically and officially, since we were able to get him to join us on this episode as a surprise last one, this is the official last episode for Chuck on Creator Toolbox as a host. But we'll see what happens in the future. And Robert, we can let you introduce yourself too.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Ninnes. I'm a outbound product manager for App Engine, focusing specifically on Now Assist for Creator, so our Gen AI tools for developers. But I've been around ServiceNow for quite a while. Some of you will notice I'm wearing an Istanbul t-shirt. That is because this is my 13th year with the company. And have many, many different roles, but this is my first ever live stream with Chuck and first ever Creator Toolbox. So I'm hoping to, be here a little bit more, especially since we have a great roadmap of products coming out. And I believe the next topics in the live stream will also cover the other skills for Now Assist for Creator as well, if that's right.
I think I just heard you commit to several more episodes of Creator Toolbox. So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll see you throughout November for Store Release 2 and for the next releases and everything too.
Yep, hopefully soon.
Well, what's Chuck, on tap today for us, Robert?
So today we'll be talking about data visualization generation. So data visualization generation is a skill in our Now Assist for Creator Toolbox. Which is a generative AI skill, a new generative AI skill to help, data viz designers, dashboard owners, dashboard content creators, and developers to create charts, to create data visualizations using natural language, using prompts, and the power of generative AI.
You kind of said every audience with that kind of build. Is it really is the target audience every creator builder on ServiceNow? Or because when I think of analytics generation, I think of the end user audience that would be making those kind of visualizations and stuff like that. Or are you really envisioning this as a tool for each audience?
Yeah, so this is one of our kind of weird ones with Now Assist for Creator. Yeah, App Gen, Playbook Gen, Catalog Gen, they're all real developer tools to help our developers be more productive. Data visualization generation does hit a different audience. And we realized that, the majority of data visualizations that are created and dashboards that are created are actually created in production. And so this is hitting a different target audience. But we do realize that they are creators. They create, these people are creators on our platform. They create content. They may not be as complex as, playbooks and workflows. but they are definitely piece of content that assist people in analyzing their workflows, where what's happening, and those sorts of things. So yeah, this is definitely a skill that you could enable in production, and actually is better if you do, because where does all the data live that you'll be using to populate these data visualizations? In prod.
Nice.
That may, as a developer, that some developers may take umbrage with that. Like, wait a minute, if I'm letting people create reports and data visualizations in production, how do I sync that back to dev? Because we got to keep our development cycle in order, and if things are happening in production, then we're going to stomp on each other's work potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Applications, things that you put through your development pipeline, you want to make sure that when you're releasing those, you have good data to go with them.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, you will be creating these things in development, adding them to your app manifest, and pushing them into production, however you push content into production via update sets or the dev pipeline through App Engine Management Center. So definitely things like that will be, you'll need to consider dashboards and data visualizations for, new workflows that are coming out. But operational things where for example, you already have the KPIs created, the indicators, the data sources created. You just want a different view. So you might have a request come in from like an executive to say, hey, I just want a summary of like what's going on in this process.
Mm-hmm.
Those sorts of things you can absolutely create in production and just be like, okay, we already have those data sources defined. We're just creating a different view. Like we're just using that same data source, but instead of it being a pie chart, it's like a stacked bar or something like this.
Okay.
That actually reflects the pipeline that I had at my previous customers when I was a developer. Is though if it's not manipulating the underlying stuff, then most of those things were made in production anyways by analysts, not by developers.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
We jump into it.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. So Now Assist. Let's kind of start at the beginning a little bit. I'm just going to show you the Now Assist admin panel just quickly, so you get an idea of where these generative AI skills live on your instance. So Now Assist panel is a new admin page, which gives you an overview of all of the generative AI skills that you have currently configured on your instance. While it loads, there we go. If you click into the Features tab, there's a bunch of different feature categories. So, for example, if you've got the Now Assist for ITSM pack installed, you'll have a bunch of skills available here. So for incident in particular, I've got summarization and notes generation enabled. And if we click over to the Creator category, we'll see that we have a bunch of skills installed for Now Assist for Creator. Analytics, data visualization generation being one of those. And this
that's a mouthful.
Yeah, say data visualization generation 3 times fast. I dare you. From now on, I'm just going to call it data viz gen because that's so much easier to say. Right, and you'll notice that there might be multiple here as well. So, analytics as a category is got a healthy roadmap of a bunch of new skills coming out over the next couple of releases, and so you'll see this fill out as well. Once we activate that skill, it'll be available in the Now Assist panel. So some skills are in line. For incident summarization, you get a nice little UI at the top of your incident to show, the summary of the incident, what's going on in it. Some are like one-shot prompt-based, like catalog gen and playbook gen. You'll put your prompt in to a text box, you'll hit a button, and it'll go and create a bunch of content for you. And some of them, like data visualization, data viz gen, is a Now Assist panel skill. So once you enable the Now Assist panel, you'll get a little new icon up here next to the scope and update set picker. A little Earl, did we figure out what this was called again? A little now assist
Is it a
sparkle?
twinkle, a sparkle? What is it?
Officially, the name of that emoji is what was it? It's sparkles. It's sparkles.
Sparkles.
Yeah.
Okay, sparkles. So we get a little sparkles icon here.
Okay, we're just gonna go around. I don't think that's the real name, but the emoji is called sparkles. So
I'm cool with that. I like it.
okay.
So we get a little pop over, or we can pin it to the side. So I'm just going to pin it because we're going to be working in here quite a bit. So we have a bunch of topics available in Now Assist panel already. So generating resolution notes for an incident or summarizing a record, we can dive into those. Application generation, which if you haven't already seen, will probably be coming up in another Creator Toolbox soon as well. We won't go into that today. We're going to be focusing on creating a data visualization. So if you click into this topic, what will happen in the back end is Now Assist will be given a persona. So in this case, Now Assist is being given a data visualization designer persona. We have specific prompt layering that sets up this persona to expect certain prompts to be sent to it and for it to be able to interpret those. And as you can see, it gives us a little introduction with, importantly, some guidelines. So if we click on this, we'll have a little popover come up with a bunch of different guidelines on how to create or construct your data visualization prompt. So a little bit of kind of like just general topic discussion theory now. When you and I, Chuck, Earl, we talk about data using business language, have you found that there's, and this is a very leading question, I know, have you found that there's like a very common way that people will construct the sentences in the way that they talk about data? So as an example, so if I were to ask you to, if I was to ask you for, a query on the incident table, how would you construct that in a way that I would understand to be able to create a visualization from that?
I've seen two camps. I've actually seen two camps about this. I've thought about this at one point. When I saw people that were in developer roles, they typed their prompt just like if they were typing it into Google. So just the query terms and the keywords to get it done. But then I saw some people that were never inside, that aren't developers, and they write out full sentences. Yeah, so that's the two camps I commonly see, and that it's not exclusively those things, but I see mostly developers will just do query terms, and then non-developers write out the whole sentence.
Yep. And like exposure to structured query languages like, well, SQL actually, have program, I guess is a pretty terrible word for it, but program developers to talk like that, right? So we already have a way of describing data that's very structured. And so we typically use very similar sentence structure.
So people will even type the SQL command.
Absolutely. And that, for the most part, may actually work in here. So we, like, English is weird, always weird. As a natural, like, English speaker, we just don't realize how funny some of our constructs are. So one of the things that is really interesting is the adjective order, right? So you can say like a big red car, but you can't really say a red big car, right? It just sounds funny. Or car, big red, two big red cars, right? That, you know what I mean? So like
it sound like a children's book now.
Yeah, exactly. So we have like this order of like adjectives that just kind of like naturally happens. And this is actually kind of a bit of a phenomenon that is, documented and has a structured order. So opinion, size, shape, age, color, origin, material, and then any qualifiers, etc. This is typically what we use to, to describe objects. In a very similar way, we actually have a way of describing data. So typically when you talk about data, you'll talk about like an aggregation first. For example, like I want to count, I want an average, I want the minimum or the maximum. And then you say like the count of something. What is that something? It's an incident or like an opened incident. You'll give it a qualifier. Then you might have like a grouping by something or a trend by week, by month, etc. So we actually have this natural way of describing data in the similar way that we have a way of describing objects, like through adjectives. And so that's what this is trying to kind of like teach us, if we don't already know about that, is that when we create our prompts for data visualization generation, use that same language that we know how to describe data and just use it naturally again. So we're expecting, the LLM here is expecting aggregations or metrics or counts, trends, sorting, grouping, date ranges, and then when it comes to the type of visualization, if you want it as a bar chart or a pie chart, any other kind of display information as well. So that's just a little bit of like the funny background in how we can use language and the way that LLMs are trained to kind of create this level of understanding between us as business users or developers and the way that we speak to get data out of the system.
Before Robert continues, I want to point out to everybody watching this, either right now or after the fact on when it becomes posted on YouTube. But Robert, were you previously an educator? Because what you just did was something that is very common in teaching in a classroom setting, is that we can be talking very technical things or talking about ServiceNow or this new tool, but you brought it to a much higher level and conceptually and talked about like language and how does it go into the hierarchy of SQL and ordering, and those kind of asides, what is a common thing for educators to do, because those things is what will help all of this kind of stuff stick in your head when you actually go and do it. So I know if I ever whenever I go into data analytics, I'm going to be sitting there like, I'm thinking about order now and how am I constructing the words after or before it, or what is it expecting from me, just because you did this aside right now for us. So, hey man, thanks. That's pretty good.
I appreciate that. No, I don't have a background in education. I do have a 10-year-old daughter, so I find I have a lot of patience explaining things to her. She's very, very curious. And I did start my career in technology as a consultant. So, that also required a lot of patience talking to, customers as well. But no, I just find that a lot of, sometimes it does matter to just take these extra moments to just explain, how we got to this place, because this is a very new field for everyone. Generative AI, using LLMs, understanding how they work, all that kind of thing. I don't want to kind of leave anybody behind, if you know what I mean, because of the rapid pace that's happening with this technology, especially, of all the new features that ServiceNow itself is bringing, like much less the market is also like, kind of adopting and absorbing this. So yeah, I want to try and do my best to make sure that everybody can kind of get it, I guess.
I have you on the show till you're 90.
Sorry, what was that, Earl?
We're going to keep having you on the show. This is perfect.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm actually really stoked that, get to share this with Chuck. So that's awesome. Cool. So yeah, we've got some just some help here. Like honestly, the first version of Analytics Gen, we learned a lot from that in providing like a lot more information for users on like how to actually use the thing. One other quick aside before I actually start, I know everyone's itching to actually see this, is that you'll notice that this uses our NLQ framework. So if you have already been using platform analytics previously, you would have already probably come across our, no, this is out of the application. Where did I have this open? Our Analytics Center, and seen this text box here, ask a question about your data.
Mm-hmm.
And this uses our NLQ engine to do a very similar thing. So if I want to see like the number of new incidents, I can type that in here and ask for that data to be shown to me as well. And we'll talk about how these two skills like kind of differ against each other, but the data visualization generation skill is leveraging NLQ in a way that I'll explain in a little bit as well. So you've probably seen that already. So let me just take one of these examples. I'm going to say, the number of problems created per month. I'm going to grab one of these, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And what will happen is that there's a conversational flow in the Now Assist panel skills. So if you open up Virtual Agent Designer, some of these will be available for you to explore. Data Viz Gen isn't one of those, but we'll take a look at App Gen just to give you an idea of how these things are constructed, because you may end up creating one of these conversational skills yourself. So essentially, we have this flow of, okay, once you've got this type of, let's call the LLM, let's do a bit of setup with prompting. We'll ask the user some questions. The user's going to give us a prompt. What are we going to do with that prompt? If we don't have enough information, maybe we'll cycle back to the user and ask them to do something else. So that they have this kind of like flow to them, and that's built in VA Designer. So if you've ever created a virtual agent conversation, the LLM, the way that Now Assist panel integrates with an LLM is very, very similar, except in some of those activities, it's just reaching out, like making an API call to an LLM to either do some completion or some back and forth chat. So in this case, Data Viz Gen is taking that sentence, that data sentence, number of problems created per month, and it's taking a look at it. And we're using an LLM to basically inspect that sentence and say, does it have all of these things? So we trained the LLM using a prompt to say, you're going to be receiving these data sentences, and we want you to pull out an aggregation, a data source, like a table, problems, incidents. We want you to pull out your trending information. We give it a list of all the things that it could expect. And then, exactly, Earl, tokenizing the sentence to understand what to use, sending that off to NLQ. So the cool thing about Data Viz Gen is it understands the schema underlying ServiceNow. So it understands what an incident is, what that table exactly is in ServiceNow, what all the fields are, what all of the group by possibilities are, the field types, etc. So you can see here we've built a column chart. And the first thing that the skill does is it gives you a summary of it. So it says, okay, this is a column chart visualization from the table source name problem. It displays the count of records created over time in a monthly interval. The data visualization is created by Now Assist. Please check it for accuracy. So what we can do is we can click view details. Sorry, Earl?
That's a solid explanation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much it's just a summarization of what's being created. So first thing to do is read through that and check if that makes sense, if that's generated something that makes sense.
I like the synopsis on the bottom for people who have already done some basic reporting. They can see aggregation count, trend by per month. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see we've extracted those, those pieces of the sentence, the data source, aggregation, etc. You get a little preview of the chart. Here we can see the benefit of doing it in production. I have pretty sparse data on this instance. So if we were to do this in prod, we would have much nicer data, which is very important for doing the presentation part. Data is not really important for doing the query part, apart from double checking that you are getting the right results. Because the query part's just based on the schema. So having data in there doesn't really change that. But when it comes to presentation and actually checking that you've got the right query set up, it kind of does matter a little bit. So we've got that nice detailed view. We can also open that in Viz Designer. So this is another platform analytics feature that's been around for quite a while. Oh, there we go. I was like, hang on a second. I did have Viz Designer open before, so it might have been a little bit of a session thing. So yeah, we can open in Viz Designer and we can immediately edit it. So if we want to change, add a group by, or change any of the settings that were created by DataVizGen, we can do that directly. We can save this as a shareable visualization as well, and add it to dashboards, or other dashboard owners could also pick up this and add it to their dashboards as well.
I think you just answered my question that was in my head. You had said number of problems created per month. If you had said number of requests, we all know that there's more than one table named requests. In fact, there could be multiple user created tables out of what is it? the new tool, the new designer. Earl, help me out here. I'm having a senior moment.
Creator Studio.
Creator Studio. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. I think my brain just retired. But you could have multiple tables with the same name, is my point. And if it's gotten the wrong one, is the chatbot going to ask, hey, wait a minute, we've got multiple tables, or is it going to take a wild guess and then you come into here in this designer and fix it?
Kind of both. If it will take its best guess, you can specify directly the table name that you want it to use. So if you know the table name, you can use that. If there's ambiguity there, that is a really good question, because if you've got multiple tables with all the same name, it kind of won't really know. In future releases, we're looking at making this more conversational. So if there are some unknowns, it will come back to you and say, hey, there's 4 tables named request. Which one do you actually mean? And then you can pick it, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So that's something that, definitely is benefits from understanding the platform and having that conversational back and forth in there.
I'm a little surprised it didn't give a better visualization name for the title.
Yeah, right?
Problem.
That's a very good point. And that should be very simple for our dev teams, like piece of feedback to take on and go, okay, cool, you've got this, massive description. Can you boil that down to like 3 or 4 words?
You could almost use it right from the prompt. Problems created per month.
True, exactly. So that's the generation of a data viz. One other thing I'd like to show you is if you do have a dashboard currently open, you get this third option here called Add to Dashboard. So directly from Now Assist panel, you can click this button it'll open up the dashboard in edit mode, and you can add it directly to the dashboard.
Okay.
This is a really powerful way of like just having a dashboard open. And instead of having to click here, add new element, and then go through that whole process, you just type your request in Now Assist panel and have it be built. So you can like resize it, and then obviously in the configuration side of it here, you can also change any of those options too. So that's pretty cool.
We had a couple of questions also, if you want. So first, Andrew Barnes asked, "Can I use this tool to describe the visualizations we already have?"
No, not yet. So one thing that this skill doesn't do is edit existing visualizations. It's just creating net new at this stage.
And then Chrissy Merriam, another new developer advocate on our team, was in the chat, and based off of the thing we were just talking about like data ambiguity, or if there's multiple request tables, she's asking, would it take into account what tables you have access to? So like, will it try to build is it based off of the tables you have provisioned, or like if you talk about an HR table but you don't actually have HR, what does it do?
Yep. Yes. So it does. It uses platform security to filter those lists of tables down to those that you have access to.
Nice.
Yep. Cool. We're gonna do one more example, and while I get this one up, feel free to ask any additional questions.
They're in the chat, Chuck.
There's another one from Andrew. It says, does this rely upon existing metrics and data sources, or can/will it create the PA things I need to fulfill the request?
Yeah, I think I try to answer that too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but you were saying earlier that it relies on the platform analytics stuff that has already been made, like the breakdowns, the buckets that are already made, and this is creating views based off of those existing things.
Correct. It doesn't yet create KPIs or data sources. It just uses existing ones.
Which makes sense to me. Like old school performance analytics was one of the most like complex things I feel like in the platform. And if you've never done it before, it's kind of a bonkers thing to set up. So the work that needs to get put into making those things, I kind of understand.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, an area of opportunity for something like generative AI to help build out as well.
That's true.
My notes. Where are we?
We've distracted you
fully. Sorry.
You said you wanted questions and conversations.
No, it's all good. All right, let's have a look at another example. So I'm just gonna reset this conversation, and let's just go in this as well. All right. Okay, so business duration, is there one here for? All right, I'm going to make my own. So maybe I can reach out to the chat to see if they have an idea of something that I could visualize.
Oh. Being brave. You heard them, live viewers. Throw your questions or throw your prompts in the chat.
And while the chat's generating a prompt, so
that's a single score.
Duration of incident SLA. So it hasn't actually picked up my as a pi. So let's try that again.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to be a little bit more specific.
Ooh, Andrew put out a challenge.
Andrew's got one.
All right, cool. So we do have prompt discovery here as well. So you don't need to keep resetting the chat and picking the topic every time. You can just kind of like fire away. It will generate, you know, a new data visualization every time. Unfortunately, it didn't understand what I was trying to get at. So let's just dive back into data viz gen. And then I'll copy Andrew's and we'll see what that happens. Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's still not picking up that I want it as a pie chart, but maybe it's because it doesn't understand that there's something that you could group by on there.
What about pie chart showing duration of?
So what do we got, Andrew? Number of incidents that have been caused by changes within 3 days of the change occurring. Oh, I don't know. I think you're asking a bit here. And
score.
well, we
that might be accurate. That actually might be accurate.
A single score chart visualization from the table source named incident that displays the count of records where they're caused by a change number contains within 3 days of the change occurring. Data visualization.
Can we see the query that it came up with?
Yeah.
The conditions caused by change number contains within. So that doesn't actually show us too much. Let's go to the visualization and.
Might be right, but the word the contains
or maybe the data isn't there to support it.
Yeah, I definitely don't think this instance has incidents and changes in that. So we can have a look at this data source and see what query it's running.
Caused by change number. Is that a dot walked field? It is.
Yeah. Okay. It's taken.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Literal of within 3 days of change occurring.
So yeah, the words, and it's doing it by the number column, which is
the number field isn't going to give you anything useful out of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it does try its hardest to try and understand. I mean, yeah, thanks, Astrid. It is technically right, but it's it's less right than we would like it. So the great thing about generative AI as a product manager, you can just wave away hallucinations like this. We're like, oh, it's not a product defect; it's just a hallucination. But yeah, we need to tighten some of this stuff up. But that just comes with training and bringing in these data sets and making sure that we actually make it try and understand them a little bit better.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Astrid had one.
We did have a question from. Sorry, Chuck, go ahead.
Yeah, Astrid had another one. Trend of incident creation where category is hardware.
Yeah, so that one is probably
sounds doable.
All right.
While that's going, what do you know what happened? Sanjeev in the chat also asked if someone tries to build a visualization off of data that they don't have access to on the instance, what will happen?
Isn't that similar to what Christy asked about?
Yeah, I guess you said it hits the security layer, so it should basically say nothing, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it looks like our skill discovery is not working great, so we just have to jump into the topic every time. This is something that is being improved across the Now Assist panel skills, is being able to discover what you're asking for. So as you can imagine, Now Assist panel is a big dependency for a lot of generative AI skills across the platform that are being built, and not having to reset the conversation and jump into the specific topic each time is something that we're working on to make it a little bit better. So you can just have a conversation. It's more ChatGPT like, and just keep throwing at things, and it'll be like, oh, you're asking about a data visualization. Let me go and build that for you without having to specifically do that. So let's have a look at Astrid's. So we've got category in hardware, or hardware.
Oh, it found every kind of hardware category that you had.
Yeah, there might be multiple
Like hardware or hardware.
but it hasn't done a
Yeah, it didn't trend it.
trend.
Yeah.
But
So maybe that you
started.
need to. So one thing that the LLM, so this is where it's kind of like differs from the NLQ a little bit, is it tries to rephrase the prompt. So we've got trend of incident creation, which I would say is actually a valid data sentence. But you could reconstruct that to say, like, because
Trended
there's,
by creation date or something.
yeah, so like count of incidents, trend by created date, exactly what you just said, Chuck.
Yeah.
So because we don't really have an aggregate there, there's no like count or average duration or something like that. So it could be that we try and reshuffle it, and actually that the LM tries to do that for us. So we've given it a an objective to say, if this is not well formatted, pull out all the bits and then rearrange the bits to try and make it work better for the NLQ engine. So it does try to do that for us, kind of like invisibly in the back end. But obviously, sometimes it does struggle a little bit. So I do recommend to construct those, as we were talking about earlier, construct those sentences as kind of like logically as you can, following that pattern. Yeah. So that's basically it. That's data visualization generation. It's it's not that deep of a skill. It's basically give us a data sentence, do some data exploration, maybe add it to a dashboard. But you can just keep firing these things off until you get what you want. Sometimes it might save you a lot of time having to like play around with like, okay, where do I get that data from? I'm not sure if I have a KPI already created in performance analytics or if it's like just like a table query that I need to do, because it will leverage those indicators somewhat preferentially to just raw table queries if you already have those scores. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's, as I said, it's one of those tools in the Now Assist for Creator Toolbox, and I think it'll help make our developers more productive, dashboard owners more productive, and yeah, just in general, creating a data visualization should become more conversational as we release the new features that are on our roadmap. We're looking to add things like multi metric. So right now you can just have like one metric per visualization. Looking to have like multiple trend lines, that kind of thing on there, and then having more of a Q&A, question and answer, or conversational aspect to it, where if it doesn't understand something, or like we saw, it just like takes the text and dumps it into like a text field. Maybe we can say, hey, no, that's not quite right. I want you to specifically use this field, etc., etc. So going back and revising, they're all things that we're looking to implement in the future.
We had a asteroid in technology in the chat mentioned when is the example library, a prompt library for all of our analysis stuff, like data viz gen prompts. I know you have the examples inside of that little modal helper, but it's kind of because we did a prompt library last month for non-ServiceNow analysis, just like, hey, collect all our prompts for this little prompt library that we were building.
Yeah,
so I think that'd be a fun little thing that we eventually get for ServiceNow as an official prompt library kind of thing.
Yeah, we have prompting guides for code already. We're working on prompting guides for all of our, and we have examples like in Play and Flowbook generation, Playbook and Flow generation.
You just made up a new word.
You just named the next product.
Flowbook, yeah, TM. So yeah, we have all of those. We have those. Sorry, what was I trying to say? We have the examples in those prompts. Like each of them have like a couple. It's a good idea though. we have a golden data set for data viz gen that we use to test, and maybe that's where we start from and just say, hey, here's all the prompts we use in our test data. Here's all the examples of things you can create. But yeah, we do have, as you said, Earl, we do have a bunch of different examples on here already that you can get inspired by.
Robert, do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap up the episode?
Upgrade ASAP. So I know we probably already, you probably plugged that quite a lot, but you won't get these tools unless you upgrade your instance. There are dependencies, so data visualization generation. Yeah, make sure you're upgrading to Washington and Xanadu as soon as possible. If you're planning on skipping a release, I really highly suggest you look at all the dev tooling that's coming out. We've got, Andrew Barnes is on the chat. We've got new developer experience coming out called ServiceNow Studio, which is going to blow your minds in terms of like revolutionizing how you actually go and build content on ServiceNow. And obviously all of the Now Assist for Creator skills that we've been talking about today, they're only available if you upgrade. So please consider going to those releases and not skipping anything. Otherwise, you're going to miss out for sure.
Chuck, do we have anything we need to plug?
I don't think so. devlink.sn/Xanadu.
There it is. I was ready for it.
He's fast. He's ready.
Ready.
Yeah, the rest of the Xanadu calendar. It'll be here longer than I am.
Oh. That's to summer it up at the end. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, awesome to share the screen with you today, Chuck. And I personally wanted to say thanks for everything.
My pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun.
And thank you everybody for joining us today. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff that every other YouTuber asks you. I'm asking you one more time.
We don't even have that. We don't even have that banner anymore. What's the phrase? Like and
I have an animation of it you can use.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe, please. It really helps the channel out. We never talk. We really should be asking for it, but we never talk about it. Anyways, thanks everybody.
Take care. Bye.